Hey everybody, it's Zach from Myshire Farm, and we're back again with another video to help you on your journey with Coturnix quail and becoming more self-sufficient. In this video, we're going to be talking about best practices on how to raise your Coturnix quail. I was sitting here at my desk doing texts and emails, and I get asked a lot of questions on how to raise your Coturnix quail. I get on Facebook and see a ton of questions, and I thought, you know what? It might be a good idea to do a best practices playlist. So that's what we're going to do. The link to the playlist is going to be in the description. This is the first video we'll be doing in it. And we're going to be talking about feed. Now, with that being said, there are hundreds of different ways to raise your Coturnix quail, and there is not one right or wrong way to do it. But we're going to give you best practices that we've learned throughout the years. I'm also going to give you the reasons why we do it that way, and I'm going to give you other examples on how other people do it differently and still have success. So this playlist is not exactly to tell you what to do step by step, but to give you ideas on what would work best for you. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing we're going to talk about is a hot topic I get asked all the time. I see it on Facebook all the time, and it is, what do I feed my quail? So here's the thing. When we started just for self-sufficient use, and we could not find a game bird feed. So what we did was we started with a turkey starter. It was high in protein. It worked just fine. Then we transitioned them, once they started laying, to just a general layer feed. And you know what? It was fine. You can do that, not a big deal at all. For the self-sufficient use, it worked just fine. Now, through the years, we've transitioned to not just self-sufficient use, but more to a business. And the bigger we got, the more important it was to us to give you the best quality quail and have the most maximum production for us, because we transitioned to more of a business side of it. So we've transitioned our feed multiple times. Now, we have been able, and we've been lucky enough to talk to some experts in the field, some PhD doctors that work with feed and customize feed, and that's what we've done. So for the starter grower, we actually use a pheasant starter. And then for our layer feed, we actually customize a blend just for Coturnix quail. And I'm going to get into why we do that in just a little bit. But the first thing that I want you to know, the best practice, is that for starter growers, for your grow outs, really all you're looking for is, the best practice would be a crumble, and you're looking between a 25 to 30% protein. Now, we've done a 32% protein is the highest we go, and we really see no difference between a 28 and a 32% protein. So that's why we recommend a 25 to 30% protein. We've also tried mesh, we've also tried crumbles, and we've also tried pellets for our starter growers. The pellets were okay. We did have some more deaths because they were just too big, and it was too much for them to consume. The mesh, they just didn't seem to really like it. They didn't grow as large. The crumbles worked just fine for us. So we recommend a 25 to 30% protein and a crumble, but it doesn't have to be a game bird feed. It can be a chicken starter. It can be a boiler starter. It can be a turkey starter. It can be a pheasant starter, or it could be a game bird feed starter. Whatever works best for you, whatever you can find, whatever is the most affordable for you. Those are the things you're really looking for, is a crumble, which works best for us, and a 25 to 30% protein. Now, I just visited Chris from Slightly Redneck. If you are not subscribed to his YouTube channel, I highly recommend you do it. He raises quail completely different than I do, and we have different experiences, but I think that it's good to have different ideas and find out what works best for you, okay? Now, he uses a starter grower their entire lifespan. He says that he has no issues with soft eggs, he has no issues with production, and it just works well for him. That is fine. That's one way to do it. Now, we do it a little bit differently, and I'm going to explain why. So we transition our quail from a starter grower to a layer feed, which we have custom blend, which we would not do if we were not selling so many eggs to all of you. Our thought process on this is these quail are no longer ours. They are yours that we're taking care of. So we really put in the time, the money, and the energy to give you the best possible quality that we possibly can. Plus, we need maximum production. So with that being said, we were lucky enough to have Klombach PhD nutritionist doctors that customize and feed blends come out to the farm, asked us a bunch of questions. We asked them a bunch of questions, and they customized a layer feed for us. Now, with that being said, what we do is if they are colors, we transition them from a starter grower to a layer feed from the beginning of week 8 to the end of week 8, which what that means is we give them half and half every day. So we give them half starter grower, half layer for that full week, and then they just straight go to the layer feed. Usually our quail start laying around 5.5 to 6 weeks old. So by the time we're transitioning, they've already been laying. Now, if we just switch the feed cold turkey, they typically don't like that, and they'll stop laying for us for about a week or two. So we don't want to do that. So we transition half and half. That is a best practice that we recommend, but you do not have to do. A lot of people don't. A lot of people have success with it. Again, these are just different ways to raise quail, what we do and what we think are the best practices to do so. So the reason we transition them is because from what we've been told and what we've seen is that when they start laying, the protein is not so important to them. What is important to them is a higher calcium and a higher fiber percentage in the feed. And the more protein, the higher the cost of the feed. So we lower the protein, which our best practice, what we recommend is you transition to the layer feed that is between 15 and 20% protein, which will also increase their calcium and fiber percentages, which we recommend a 3 to 3.5% calcium. And we also recommend a 1 to 1.5% fiber. That will produce much better eggs, healthier eggs. It will allow the hens to have full force, full production, maximum production, and the males can use that feed and they will not slack off. They'll still do their job. I get that question asked quite a bit. Can the males eat the layer feed? Yep, absolutely not a big deal. So we transition them to that layer feed. We still use a crumble. So the best practices for a layer feed that we recommend is 15 to 20% protein, 3 to 3.5% calcium, and 1 to 1.5% fiber. We also recommend the crumble. We've also tried the mesh, we've tried the crumble, and we've tried the pellets. There was no issue with the pellets. We just prefer the crumble and we think that they digest it better. But we did not have extra deaths, we did not have lower production, nothing like that. So the pellets could be used as a layer feed. I do not recommend that as a starter grower, but we still recommend a crumble. Now we've tried the mesh, they seem to waste a lot more of it. They seem to be much more picky on what they eat, and it was less production from them. So that gives you an idea on what works best for us, but you might have a different experience, okay? Now, we transition them with the colors like I've already said. With jumbos, it's a little bit different. We actually transition them from the beginning of week 10 to the end of week 10 or the beginning of week 11. We do it the same way. We do half and half for a full week and then just put them on the layer feed. So if you don't transition them and you just switch the feeds, here's the best practice, or here's a tip. Quail do not like change. So if you change their environment, if you change cages, if you change males, if you change hens, if you change feed, if you change lighting situation, whatever the case may be, they don't like it. So that does not mean that they're all going to die. It does mean that there's a strong possibility that they'll stop laying for a week or two whenever you change something. So that's why we transition, because we can't afford to lose those eggs for a couple of weeks. Now, They might not, but it is a possibility. So the best practice is to transition them. So again, please keep in mind there's millions of ways, hundreds of ways to raise Coturnix quail, and that is just the feed aspect. We're going to be doing more videos as far as inside versus outside, what kind of housing, best practices for all of that, and I hope that this helps. If it does, comment below, and if you do something differently as far as the feed goes, let us know below. Because other people can kind of try your way and decide what works best for them, and that is what I'm going for. I think that is very, very important. But the one thing that if you can take anything away from this video, the one thing I want you to take away is there's no right or wrong way. Give them a good starter grower feed. It does not have to be game bird. It can be anything with high protein. We prefer a crumble, but you can try anything else. We do not recommend that you grind your feed up, but a lot of people do with success. I've had a lot of customers that have had major issues with that as well. So best practice is just to let them be on a crumble. There's different reasons behind that, which I actually have an expert in the field going to be talking about that. They're much more knowledgeable about the whole scientific reason behind it that I'm just not comfortable sharing. So they're going to explain all that. So that video is coming. But a high protein for the first 8 to 10 weeks, and then, a lower protein to save you money, but that will also increase your calcium and fiber, which is what we recommend. Now, if you can't find those numbers, here's a tip and trick. You can also increase your feed by adding things to it. So if you need to increase your calcium, use oyster shells. There's a tip. If you need to increase your protein, mealworms is a great source. Now, there's many different ways to increase that stuff, but those are just a couple tips and tricks that we've learned along the way. My opinion, again, everybody can disagree, but my opinion is I don't want to supplement our feed. That costs more money. It takes more time, more energy, and I don't have the time, right? So I just want to find a feed that fits those requirements and just feed them that feed. Another huge tip that I can tell you that I highly recommend, and this is kind of a non-negotiable. I keep telling everybody there's no right or wrong way. There's a few that are just only right? So one of those is you cannot let your feed run out of, or you cannot let your quail run out of feed. If you do that, you're going to have aggression issues, you're going to have territorial issues, and they're going to take it out on each other. You're also going to lose a ton of production out of your quail. So make sure that they have feed at all times. Please do not ration their feed. They do not like it, and they get real grumpy, and they take it out on each other. So that is just a tip and trick that I can tell you, and no one can tell me differently on that one. But everything else I'm completely open to. So hopefully that helps. I hope you like this playlist. Please, again, let me know how you raise your quail in the comments, and let me know if you have any ideas for other videos. But we've got other videos coming your way I'm very excited about. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and remember, every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I go live right here on our YouTube channel, Myshire Farm, for a live question and answer. We all hang out. It's a community setting. And on Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we do a rapid fire Q&A. So if you have questions about Coturnix quail, join us on there either Sunday or Monday. Ask your question, and we will be more than happy to help you on your journey with Coturnix quail and becoming more self-sufficient. As always, stay safe, everybody. Thank you for watching.